Hello again, this is BBC News. We're now bringing you the latest business stories. I'm Sally Bundock. It's a big week for the UK economy with key announcements expected that will be critical for some industries, retail, for example, and the hospitality sector. So gyms and non-essential shops in all areas are expected to be allowed to reopen when England's lockdown ends on December the 2nd. So this afternoon, the Prime Minister will unveil the detail of England's return to the three-tier system. This will also include the relaxation of the 10 p.m. closing time. Well, let's now take a look at the agreement reached by the leaders of the world's 20 biggest economies, known as the G20, which will ensure official debt service payments by the world's poorest countries will be frozen until the middle of next year. So earlier this year, the G20 Debt Relief Initiative helped 46 countries defer this amount of debt service payments, meaning those countries had more funds to fight the pandemic. However, there are calls for the world's most powerful economies to do more now, particularly to help African countries who've got rising debt levels. China is one of the biggest lenders to Africa. Its government, banks and companies lent some $143 billion to Africa from 2000 to 2017. Well, we're joined now by Razia Khan, Chief Economist of Africa and the Middle East at Standard Chartered. Razia, it's lovely to see you. So just tell us more about what the G20 have agreed. It's good to hear from you. Thanks for your time so early this morning. Well, let's now look at financial markets to just show you how a brand new week has begun. You can see that it's a fairly mixed picture. We haven't got Japan's Nikkei 225 there because it's closed today for a public holiday. But it's a mixed picture because what's on the minds of investors really is, of course, where are we with the global pandemic, with a vaccine being rolled out in the US possibly in 3 weeks and elsewhere in the new year? That's the positive. But the negative for markets right now is the stalemate. Well, it's not really a stalemate in the US, the situation with regards to a lack of handover between President-elect Joe Biden and President Trump's team. What does that mean for any new stimulus plan for the US economy? That decision cannot be made or agreed upon in this this period we're in, this limbo period we're in at the moment. And that's something markets would really like to be resolved. More money injected into the world's biggest economy. So that's what's on the minds of investors this week. Now, Hong Kong and Singapore were due to open their much anticipated travel bubble on Sunday. It was hailed as the future of post-pandemic travel. But at the 11th hour, the plan was suspended for 2 weeks after coronavirus infections jumped in Hong Kong. Let's go live to our Asia business hub. Sharanjit Lail is there. Sharanjit, I'm sure many were really disappointed. You've got to wait another couple of weeks. Stay with us here on BBC News, still to come. Now let's talk Brexit, because time is running out for negotiators as we hurtle towards the December 31st deadline, when the UK's post-Brexit transition period comes to an end. So talks are continuing. However, some of the key sticking points remain, such as fishing rights and competition rules. Businesses, though, they want clarity. With just weeks to go, there's growing concern among industry, ports and the shipping sectors over the changes that will come into force on January the 1st, including new customs routines and systems. Well, we've got Alex Veitch with us again, Head of Public Policy at Logistics UK. Alex, it's really good to see you. Now, last time you and I chatted, the government had announced this weekly meeting of top business leaders, to which I don't think you've been a part of that so far. But are we any clearer on what's happening January 1st of exporters and importers on both sides stockpiling stuff that's important in the same way that we saw in the run-up to previous deadlines? Well, good to see you. Alex Veitch there, Head of Public Policy at Logistics UK. Now, the pandemic has severely impacted restaurants worldwide. Many have been obliged to close for lockdown on diners, even when they are allowed in. Well, often nervous customers have been opting out and staying at home anyway and getting meals delivered. So there's a huge growth, as you can imagine, in so-called cloud kitchens. This is industrial kitchens that cater only to the takeaway market. Samir Hashmi has been finding out more in Dubai. Back to the UK, and grassroots sports have been dealt a series of devastating blows this year. However, the government has announced funding for various sports in England to help them survive the winter. The £300 million Sport Winter Survival Package is to help spectator sports through the current period where revenues has dried up because of a lack of paying fans. Not all sports, though, will benefit. So, for example, swimming, boxing, cricket are missing out on the funding. Let's talk this through with Lisa Wainwright, Chief Executive of the Sport and Recreation Alliance. Lisa, thank you for getting up early for us. Just first of all, explain how this funding will work, who will get it and what, who's at risk of closure right now as well. And thank you too for your company.